Hello and welcome to another episode of STEM by Jim. I'm Jim Matheson. Today's episode is going to do a departure or start something new I think we'll do on this channel as well. In addition to projects is reviews, and there are a lot of STEM projects out there that you can get online, or you can go to places like bookstores or whatnot nowadays and you can find these. And it's good to see the validity and the practical educational value of each of these. And so I'd like to do reviews. And today's review, I'm going to do something called the Beandge STEM kits, or I might be spelling that wrong or pronouncing that wrong, but I've done a couple of these already. There were 6, I believe, in this one, and it's a pack that comes with individual kits, projects. And today's episode, I wanted to test out one of these and see how A, how long it takes, B, how complicated it is, C, the educational value, and D, whether or not kids this age, which are six and older, would actually enjoy this and what they're learning from it. So that's going to be today's episode. We'll do the fiber optic lamp. So you can see it's got a little fiber optic line here, and we're going to see how well that comes together. There are a couple more that I haven't done in here. One is a buzz wire game, like you see at the carnivals, and then there is a bubble making machine. And we will do those probably in later episodes. The other two that I have done already. One was a oscillating 3-pin drawing piece. It basically draws freeform on a piece of paper from a simple DC motor. And the other one was a 2-wheeled robot. And I'll grab that one when I go to the overhead here and show you what that looks like. And they each come with googly eyes, which I think is a nice little touch. You can make them look like robots because they have googly eyes. But let's do that today, and we'll see how this product holds up and the kind of educational value you get. That's on today's episode. So let's get right into it. The first thing I'm going to do is show you the one I made earlier, just to kind of get an idea how these worked. I'll call this one, we'll call this one rotor. I don't know. So it's basically looks like 2 paddle wheels on the side with two batteries, and I took one of the batteries out because it doesn't actually come. This design doesn't actually come with a switch. So you put the 2 batteries in, it just goes. So if I put the 2 batteries in, it powers this little motor that turns the gear, that turns the wheel. The wheel also on the other end has a paddle here that it locks in place. So you actually have to pull this out past the lock to get that to actually rotate, otherwise it's locked. And I think that's the way it works when it's not meant to go. Now I've got to figure out how to push that past it. There we go. So that way, now it still kind of catches. So push it further out. All right, it's free there. And so then when we put the second battery in, let's do that right now. Oh, there we go. It just rotates, runs around. He's running backwards though. Its polarity is backwards, I guess. Or maybe I just put it backwards on the motor, but that's fine. That's the one I did earlier. And so we'll take this off. Again, it doesn't have a switch, so you just have to kind of push it together. When you push it together, it's not going to go anywhere, but it's still energized, and so I wouldn't recommend that. So if I were to put it in now, it's not moving because it's locked, but it does have it is energized, so I wouldn't leave it like that. So let's take these batteries out. And anyway, we'll call that one rotor. I don't know, just a funny name. We'll put rotor right here so you can see what we're going to work on. The next one we're going to do is the one I mentioned earlier, the fiber optic lamp. So let's take this out and take a look at it. All right, let's begin. Each one of these comes obviously with an instruction manual, and we're going to show you how to build the fiber optic lamp. And each one of them does most always come with a breadboard, although this day and age they're obviously plastic. Back in the day they weren't. Silica or something else. They were different based but it does come with a breadboard that we're going to wire everything to simulate the circuitry board. And then the other parts include obviously a little short screw, long screws, the battery box, and the connector, and 2 LED lights. So that's going to be the parts for this. So let's get into how we build this. So let's start through step 1. Let's fix the connector. And we need obviously a little tiny screwdriver because we do have little screws here. So the first thing we want to do is connect them. So we have 2 directions, I guess, side, and I guess it doesn't really matter which way we do here. So we're going to fix the connector to the battery box with the screws. So it looks like that we'll just take 2 small ones. So let's take our 2 screws and drop them in there. And yeah, it looks like it's just one on either side here. Drop that in there. Now one thing I don't like is that some of these are very finicky for fingers, and if you have small fingers, it's going to be a bit challenging. It's one thing I'm not a fan of is the size of these screws. I understand why you need them. Obviously, they want bulky ones, but for a 6-year-old child, this could become a little bit more of a thing to manage. Trying to dexterity-wise do this. So some of these, like the battery boxes, usually have to be wired on or screwed in and then wired up. And getting these in place isn't always the easiest, or at least for the last 2 I did weren't terribly easy. The time frame on these is 30 to 60 minutes, so we do expect 30 to 60 minutes. So we'll also see if that's the case. And then we're going to take our long screws and put our connector on. Now our connector looks like it, the same on both ends. I don't think it really matters which facing. Actually, no, that's the female end. That's the male end. So yeah, I think we're going to check which one it is. Yeah, I'm going to look at this one for a second and see that it goes. Yeah, okay, so we're going to do this way with the wires facing that way. So we take our long screws on this one, and is it just one long screw? Yeah, just one, because obviously it looks like there's only one. Drop that here about midway. So drop that, say right here. Make sure you guys can see this. And while that's in place, see if I can. All right, so we got that held in place, and then we'll just tighten it down. Small screwdriver. Again, the dexterity on this could be a bit challenging for smaller hands. Okay, so we have that, and then we move on to our next step. So, which is to take the wires, pull the thread off the end, and just twist them up. Well, let's get a little bit of better tight wire on it. All right, and then same for the ground. And this one has black on right, other on left. So let's put that in there all the way through. Yeah, twist it up a little bit more. Let's catch it on the side of the wire. I'm going the wrong direction with it. You can do this with tweezers, but I'm trying to do this at like a little 6-year-old child would. Just to kind of understand how well this conveys to a child who's trying to do this. So let's see if we can get that in there. Is that caught? Yeah, that's caught. Same over here. See if we can catch it in there. It goes in further, so we can get that. See, this one's catching a little harder. All right. Try to get that up in there. There we go. Okay. So that's the first 2 steps. Now we go over to step 3, which is to connect one LED to the other end. The long pin on the same side. With the long pin on the same side as the red wire. All right, so the long pin, obviously you can see, one of them is slightly longer than the other. So they're saying that you put the short on black, the long on red. I'm glad these are black and red because I can't see red. But I'm glad that that's good. It's accessible at least. Makes me happy. All right, and then push this in there. Actually, let's take this and bend it back a little bit so we can get them in there. A little easier. Sometimes that's a little easier to do. There's two holes up in there on the side. There you go. All right, and then press the fibers evenly on the table with a little force. Not sure why we're doing that, but okay, there we go. And then 5, we're going to stand up our little light. See, that's the problem. So we're gonna take this out and bend it so it's faced up, and then try to reattach. Again, tiny hands might do this better. I don't know, or it could be worse. So far, it's not as hard as the other two in terms of tediousness, in terms of tiny little getting maneuverable parts in there. So I'm not terribly upset. Then we're going to take this and put it on top of our LED light. All right, looks like gosh, what were they back in the days? Not trolls, but I can't remember the name of them. Cartoon. Then load the batteries, and you'll see a bunch of colorful optical lights. And that would be the end of that one. So we have an extra screw and an extra LED light. So let's take our batteries. Yep. Line them up positive this way. Here we go. Nice. There you go. There's a lot of light in the office here, so maybe you can see it's going through the fiber optic. So you can see light transferring through to the end of the fiber optic, so you can see the light that's down here also showing up into here, traveling through fiber optic cable. So yeah, I would say this it's a pretty good exercise. Teach you about science, obviously, of light travel and how light can be passed through certain medias, and gives you a little basic concept of how fiber optic cable, which we use for high-speed internet, can be used applicably in a practice like this. Fairly simple. Just took a simple battery box, wired it up, ground and hot through a connector, and just put a LED through the other end. And I'd say pretty easy. So if I were to rank this, on a scale of 1 to 10 for the 3 categories I mentioned, which was, what is the science behind it? Science is pretty simple. It's just light and light media and how light travels. I'd say overall, that's a pretty simple concept to understand. I don't think there's much difficulty in it. So, I'd say on the higher end, about an 8 out of 10 on that. I guess, see, that's how you do it. That's a switch right there. That's on the other ones too. I didn't see this. That is actually the switch. So this one actually has that switch as well. I think it was on the paddle. Yeah, the paddle here. So that means, yeah, so this actually does go out. I was wrong earlier. So this is just a switch that kills the connection. Oh, yeah. That's good to know. So yeah, then I can just turn it off and on like this. It's a good switch to know. That was not terribly intuitive, and it doesn't say that in the instructions. So I would say that needs to be a little clearer. So the instructions on this, I say here, were fairly clear. Didn't know that you had this, but I see it now, and I kind of just deduced that. So, but it wasn't intuitive, and to a 6-year-old, they may not know that. So I'd say that's a little lower end on about a 5 out of about 50% on terms of instruction-wise. The ease to put it together was very easy. I'd say a 10 on the ease to put it together. I will say the only difficulty is, again, inside the tediousness of getting some of these screws into the breadboard, but we seem to have that for all of them since they all have the breadboard. Like this one has a smaller breadboard, but I still had to get two little tiny screws in there as well on either side, and then again for the battery box. That got a little bit tedious. And then on the top here, so the more you have to screw in, tends to be a little bit more challenging, especially for tiny hands, or maybe kids aren't as dexterous or dexterous as, you know, a little older target area. But anyway, that's the fiber optic one. So that was done for the Beandge fiber optic lamp. And next time we will do one of the other ones, which was, let me find that box here. Yeah, over here. We have two more to try and test out. We have the bubble machine, which does have a good number of parts, but mainly, I don't know, it's a fan, so we'll see. It does have more screws, so maybe that's a little bit more challenging. And then we have the buzz wire game, which will probably be pretty simple. It's just a wire that connects it and makes a sound alert when you touch it, probably similar to the game Operation. So we'll try those on the next time. But anyway, that's the fiber optic lamp by Beandge. I'd say a pretty good product. I'd say I gave it a 5, a 7, a 10. I got to rate it. I got to put a scale up, but if we're rated it out of 40, I'd say it came up to what, 12, 10, it's 22, and then 8. So a 30. I give it a 30 out of 10 on the rating scale. So ease of use, complexity, the stem value, and the difficulty overall. So anyway, there you go. Well, we gave a little review today of the fiber optic lamp by Beandge. It's a STEM-based learning tool, and I'll try to do more reviews like this. I say overall this was a good this one's a good exercise. It was fairly easy to use. It taught fairly good basic principles for STEM around science and then technology, obviously all of them, because you have the circuitry and they're learning how to wire up and create that connection, that circuit that drives whatever the tool is. In this case, it was the fiber optic light transmission through the light traveling through the fiber optic cables to the end. And I thought that was very well executed. I gave out of 40 about a 30, maybe 32 total out of 4 categories. I'll try to list these categories as I move forward, but they were STEM value, the complexity of the build, the dexterous challenge for since it's a 6+ age group, how hard it would be for them to actually use it. Whether the constructions are clear is one thing to be complex, but the actual putting it together, even if you understand it, can be also complex. And then just the overall quality of the exercise in general. Add those together, and that's how I get that value. But that's it for today's episode. We'll try to do more. I may stop doing these as episodes. We'll see how it goes. But I do like to do more reviews of this, and we'll do a couple more reviews later on. So stay tuned. Thank you. Give me a like, subscribe, and comment below if you'd like to see anything more in the future. What kind of things you'd like to see me review overall, and see how well they apply STEM values to certain areas for kids: science, technology, engineering, math. How that field or those fields are well executed in certain toys. And again, I'll do more reviews in the future. Thanks again for watching STEM by Jim. I'm Jim Matheson. Until next time. Thanks.